my family, I would like to thank you all for being here. My mom would be so touched to see each and every one of you. I think that the memories we share with my mom helped to create a beautiful composition of a life that was truly lived to the fullest. If you can bear with me for a minute, I'd like to share a brief story. When I was about 6 years old, I wrote my first and only book. My first grade teacher, Mrs. Henretti, who's here today, even had the book bound and laminated, which was, as far as I was concerned, better than winning the Pulitzer Prize. I titled my book, The Best Story Ever. Stories even misspelled, S-T-O-R-E. And I'm not sure why, but at the time I was fairly confident that I had produced the best story ever written. Little did I know that the title of my book would become the subject of endless family jokes and ridicule. For years, things became the best ever. We shared a number of the best birthdays ever, the best vacations ever, the best Christmases ever, and so on and so forth. The more recent ones always outdoing past events. Now, in keeping with the theme, and 22 years later, I can say with complete certainty that I truly have the best mom ever. I'm so grateful to be her daughter, and I'm so lucky to have learned from her example. My mom was the most loving, warm, energetic, and thoughtful person that I know. I'm so proud of her for the way she lived her life with such dignity, compassion, and grace. Selfishly, I will miss the comfort in knowing that she was only a phone call away, and that she was always there to encourage, comfort, lend an ear, or share a laugh with me. Although I will no longer be able to talk to her every day, I know she'll never be far. Her fingerprints will forever be on all of our hearts. There truly are no words to describe how much I love my mom and how much I will miss her.
I promised my niece I would be up here sobbing. She was a hard act to follow. For those of you who don't know us, we're Patty's sisters-in-law. And for those of you who know me, know also that Patty was my very best friend. On a recent and very fun trip to Hawaii with friends and family, Patty jokingly accused me of talking too much. So I thought it would be very appropriate to speak today. However, today I speak through tears and with a very sad heart. You see, Patty and I shared the love of trips, and our best trips were always to the beach. And Patty's favorite thing to do on the beach was to read. It didn't matter if we were going to Costa Rica, Belize, Nantucket, the Vineyard, the Outer Banks. She always came with 2 or 3 books in tow, all to finish for this book club. We would sit on the beach, she would open her books, and I would open my mouth. We would talk, we would laugh, we would drink wine, Mai Tais, whatever the beach was serving. They'd say we would laugh. And we would plan our next journey, all in hopes that our husbands, the brothers, would find out how expensive it was going to be. It wouldn't be till the last day of the trip that Patty would realize she hadn't read anything. We'd been talking. She would then tell me to shut up. and she would power through her books. I'm really not sure I ever allowed Patty to finish a book. I'm sorry about that, book club, if you're out there. Although I do talk a lot, I had great difficulty in finding words to say today. You see, my life without Patty in it, it's hard to imagine. I mean, simply put, I loved her. But she was the icing on my cake. So in this quest for what to say today, I luckily came across something written about a good friend, and I found it so appropriate, I'd like to share it today in reference to Patty. Patty was the mother you wished you had. She was the sister you want to be. And she was the friend we all deserve. I truly have not known a finer person. I will miss Patty. Oh yeah, I'll miss her. This wasn't written into our talks and our laughs. But I know that her kind spirit will remain always in my heart. Thank you.
When Jody and I moved to Alexandria about 25 years ago, so that he could work with Jeff and Patty in this glamorous new demolition business. I didn't know anyone down here, and Patty became my go-to person. If I needed to know where to buy bagels, I asked Patty. If I wanted a doctor recommendation or for the dentist or a restaurant, I asked Patty. And despite being incredibly busy, running this new business, not to mention taking care of 3 very energetic young children, Patty always made time to help me. And I think as so many of us know, Patty always made time for her friends and family. And she always did it with a smile. When I became pregnant, Patty shared our excitement. She gave me her maternity clothes, and she loaned us the beautiful wooden cradle that had been her father's, and that Stephen and Kassen and Chris had all slept in as newborns. And when Allison was born, Patty was one of the first at the hospital to meet her. And I will never forget, a couple of weeks later, I was home with this tiny little newborn, alone, and I tried to trim her tiny little fingernails using my big old nail clippers. Well, that was a very bad idea. And with the first clip, I nicked her finger, and she started screaming, and I started crying, and about 2 seconds later, the doorbell rang. And I went to the door, crying, holding this screaming baby, and there was Patty on my front porch, looking like kind of a bewildered guardian angel. And she had been driving down to the grocery store and had just dropped by to see if I needed anything. Well, I needed her right that minute. And she hugged me. She took the baby out of my arms. She assessed the damage, declared the finger intact, and she reassured me that everything would be fine. And that I was probably not the worst mother in the world, that I had a number of years to work on that title. And by the time she left, I was smiling, and we were okay. And Patty left, and I thought, you know, with Patty's help, maybe I can manage this motherhood thing. Well, about 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang again, and there was Patty. This time wearing this little grin and her shoulders were kind of doing this little silent laugh. And she said, "I have a present for Allison." And she pulled out a baby manicure set. I didn't even know there were such things, so it was a really good thing Patty was there to help me. And I'm sharing this story because I think it's very typical of Patty. Not only was she warm and generous and loving and supportive, she was wonderfully practical, and she had a gift for seeing the funny side of things and helping those of us who maybe were taking ourselves a little too seriously to also see the funny side of things. Patty laughed with us, not at us, and in the process, I know she made my life, and I think so many of our lives, much richer, more interesting, and a lot more fun.